Well, so good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So today we are going to do an interesting topic, content creation in Web3. So I think Web3 is all about content plus community. So we have with us Abhishek, who is a content creator on Instagram. He actively creates content on in the Web3 space and in other areas as well. So what we will do is, we'll start with introduction about Abhishek, what he has been doing, his journey so far, and this is going to be a workshop. So Abhishek will be sharing. He has a presentation. He'll be sharing some of the best practices, that you can implement in the content creation in the Web3 space. On that note, Abhishek, just go ahead, give an intro. What made you to get into the Web3 space, and then especially content? What specific things you have been doing? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kiran. Thank you. Let me just quickly share my screen as well. I have it here. So, by the way, I created a very quick presentation. Can you all see my screen, by the way?
Yes. Good.
Okay, perfect. This is a very quick presentation. I hope, if you have any questions towards the end, I'm happy to answer that. So, yeah, before this, I was a marketing coordinator at CoinList. Our main product was token sales for new projects, but we were also like an exchange. I've been in the Web3 space for quite a while now. Actually, the first time I bought a Bitcoin was, I think, around 2016, 2017 at the time. Obviously, sold it very soon, just like everyone else. Huge mistake, but who knew Bitcoin was going to be this big? But at that time, I was just dabbling with Bitcoin and Ethereum and all that. But over the last 2 years, I've been really getting into it much deeper since the NFT boom happened last year, especially last year, since 2020, I think, since the pandemic. But that's when I thought about, going fully all in on Web3, because I definitely think this is the future. Before this, as I said, I was a marketing coordinator for CoinList. Now I create content on Instagram. You can follow me here on the Crypto Chap. And I also do some consulting here and there for Web3 marketing and education. So if you have a project that you're launching, looking for marketing help, or some companies need some education help in the Web3 space for marketing. So I help with them in that as well. So with that being said, can I get started?
Sure. Yeah.
Yes. So content creation, right? First, I'll talk about content creation in general, and then we can get into the specifics of Web3. Why should you create content? But before you look at what you're going to create, you need to answer why you're creating it, right? Like some people want to create content because they want to be experts in a certain field. Other people want to onboard more people in Web3. Like me, my interest in creating content is because right now we're in the stage of moving from Web 2 to Web 3. We're in that transition stage. So my goal to create content is to help more users who have no idea what Web 3 is or crypto is or blockchain is, to help them onboard into Web 3. That's my goal. So before you start creating content, you need to know exactly who your target audience is and first of all, why you're creating content. Once you know why you're creating content, you need to figure out where your audience is. So some people want to create, if you're looking to onboard more people into Web3, you can, go to pretty much any platform where not many people in Web3 exist. But if you're looking at just creating content for people who currently exist in Web3 or 2.5, as they say, because it's not completely decentralized yet, which is another debate happening on the side. But in my opinion, I think everyone should be content creators. Everyone, whether you are an independent employee or a company or anyone, because right now, especially right now in India, I think this is the best time to get into creating content. I think everyone should be a media company. I think I've seen a lot of people get jobs on Twitter just by posting content. If that's your goal, if you want to get a job, or if you want to, start your own company, you can build an audience by creating content first, and then launch a product to that audience. So that's my opinion, is that everyone should be creating content no matter what area you're in, or whether you're an employee or a company or anything. So mediums of content. So not everyone is good at creating all kinds of content, right? So there are different kinds of content you can create. If you're good at writing, you can write blogs or newsletters. You can also ask other projects. You can do technical writing as well. There's a lot of scope right now. A lot of companies and projects are looking for technical specific writers. If you're good at speaking, you can do podcasts, of course. If you're good at images or graphic design and all that, you could take pictures or do graphic design for Instagram, Facebook, and other platforms. But the most effective, I would say, is right now video and written content. But of course, yeah, all of them play a part. If you're doing video, you can do short or long form content. I presently, I'm only doing short form video content because I feel people's attention span has gone down a little bit. So if you want to reach a larger audience, I think short form works really well. Long form also works, especially if it's technical content. But I think my personal opinion right now is that if you're doing long form technical content, the audience is much smaller. And my goal, because it's to onboard more people into Web3, I think short form video content, short and crisp and easy to understand content works pretty well right now. For companies, I think, especially if you have less time and resources, even independent creators, one thing that could work really well is if you do easy to understand, let's say you do an easy to understand video content, video podcast, right? Let's say it goes on YouTube. It's 1 hour, it's on YouTube, and it's very easy to understand for people. So what you could do from that is cut short clips and use those short clips on YouTube Shorts or Instagram, the Instagram Reels. By the way, Instagram Reels is doing really well right now. The organic reach is extremely good if you want to be a content creator there. Or you could do TikTok. If I know TikTok is not available in India right now, but you could do that if you're interested in reaching a larger audience outside of India as well. So from that longer version of YouTube video, 1 hour video, you could cut clips and post it on short clips and post it on different platforms. Or you could just grab the audio and put it on Spotify and other podcast streaming platforms. You could do that. Just 1 hour podcast video. Using that, you're going to make multiple pieces of content. Or you could do, clips from that, images from that, and just talk about just a gist of it. Whatever you've spoken in the podcast, you could create 3 or 4 slides of it and post it on Instagram, images of it on Instagram. Maybe you could also do a blog post on that. All of everything that's said in the podcast is already there. You could just transcribe it and make it a blog post. Of course, you need to edit it a little bit, but that's also a possibility. So using one long form video content, you can create short form video content, you can create images, you can create a podcast out of it, or written word. So depending on what exactly you're good at and what your style is, you can go for that kind of content. Let me know, by the way, if I'm going too slow or too fast, if this makes sense. How can this Zoom, someone's asking, how can this Zoom meeting be repurposed as content? So I'm recording, well, this video is being recorded right now. So I could take short clips of this, as I mentioned, and, cut wherever I feel like, I've said something really important. For example, this specific slide, whatever is said in this slide, how do you repurpose content and use that as, you use that on different platforms, so to speak. I hope that answers your question. But so far, is it all right? Am I going too slow, too fast? Let me know. By the way, sorry for the background noise. There's some construction going on here. Okay. Yes, I'll move on. Important platforms for Web3 specifically. So if depends on what kind of content you're trying to create and who your audience is. So right now, because you're onboarding more users into Web3, people are all on all kinds of social media platforms, right? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, everywhere. So you could essentially, if you're looking at a larger audience, bringing them into Web3, you could post on all of these platforms, but they have to be much more distilled and much more easy to understand for people who know nothing about Web3 or nothing about blockchain. And yeah, of course, this is for companies and independent creators as well. But if you're looking to target audience which are already kind of interested in Web3 or completely onboarded into Web3, or they already have a MetaMask wallet, they already have some ETH in their wallet and they're ready to purchase and all that, then in my opinion, you should look at creating a Twitter, Discord, and Telegram in that order. I think these are very specific and extremely important for content creators in Web3, especially if you're a project or a company. I think you should absolutely have a Twitter and Discord and Telegram strategy, and not just posting content on there, but also keeping your users engaged. That's why I think community management is super important these days, because it's not just about, oh, we just made an announcement, here's a product, and bye-bye. Not that way, but I think it's important to keep your users engaged, answer those their questions in specific channels, in your Discord channels. Have AMAs, bring in more speakers, teach them more about what's going on in your company and project, and your roadmap and all that. So I think those are very important, especially if you're looking at specific or reaching Web3 users, current Web3 users, and Twitter, Discord, and Telegram are extremely important. Of course, you can also use other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. These people are everywhere, but these are the main 3 ones that come to mind. But these are not an exhaustive list by any means. So, content creation journey. So how do you, once you decide who your target audience is and where they are, you have to look at 3 things. First, you have to look at ideation, then creation, then distribution, right? So you have to look at, first, you have to know what kind of content you want to create. So when thinking about what kinds of content you want to create, the ideas, you can jot them down. You imagine you are the audience, right? Imagine, let's say I want to create for someone who knows nothing about Web3. I want to put myself in that person's shoes and imagine, if they know nothing about Web3, how will I reach them and what kind of content I want to create for them? Maybe I would say, maybe I would first explain what Web2 is, what Web1 was in the 1990s, and then say what Web2 is in like Facebook and Google right now, and what Web3 is or is trying to be. So depending on your audience, you will create jot down audience that way. And as you start growing, you can ask feedback from your audience. By the way, there was this website called answerthepublic.com. So if you enter keywords, it gives you content ideas. So let's say I enter crypto, it'll say, what is crypto? So you could create a video on that. Why is crypto important? You could create a video on that. So if you go to this website and you just type in one keyword, Web3, crypto, whatever, or multiple keywords, it'll give you specific content ideas. So if you're running out of ideas, then you can definitely use this website. I'm sure there are a lot of other websites as well, but this was a short presentation, so I thought I'll keep it very crisp. And yeah. And of course, take inspiration from competition. Look at what others are doing, what kind of content they're creating. Is it very easy to understand? Do you like that content? What about that content makes them special? If you like, let's say, a certain hook that someone is using, which we'll talk about in a second, or like a certain editing style that someone is using, maybe you could try to use something like that. But I would never say, do the exact same thing as your competition is doing. Don't ever do that. In fact, that's a strategy for failure, I would say. But I would say you can take inspiration from your competition and see what they're doing and how they're creating content, and especially in the beginning. But as you go along, you can try to mix in like more of your own independent style in it as well. So that's for ideation. Once you have ideas about what kind of content you want to create, then you will actually start creating that content. How do you actually write down, for example, if you're making the video and you're writing a script, what are the important factors that go into it? the first 2 or 3 seconds, for example, if you're creating video, the first 5 seconds, or I would say 2 seconds now, is extremely important to gather people's attention. So for example, this Twitter thread right here, this person, I just took this screenshot. How do you become a Web3 developer in 2022? Let's say I'm a developer and I know nothing about Web3, right? I'm developing right now. I mean, I'm a coder in Web2, let's say. By the way, I'm not super technical in coding, but let's say I'm a coder in Web2, but I'm trying to create content for people who are in Web2 but trying to transition to Web3. This one, it goes directly into your directly says how to become a Web3 developer in 2022. Web3 developer tools list a thread. So this is on Twitter, right? So immediately, as soon as I read the first line, it's telling me what exactly it's about, and it's grabbing my attention. And you can see there are 700 likes and whatever amount of retweets and comments. So the most important thing is the hook. The first few lines, if you're doing written content, the first line or the first few lines, especially on Twitter, the first line, extremely important. If you're doing video content, I saw this ad recently. This is not specific to Web3, it could be anything. It's like some ad where some person is using a flamethrower, and there's some visual effects in the first 2 seconds just to grab somebody's attention. It could be funny, it could be something crazy, it could be weird, could be anything that grabs someone's attention in the first 2 or 3 seconds, if it's a video or audio, or the first two lines if you're doing written content, is extremely important. That will determine if your audience is going to continue reading or continue watching your video. Generally, the types of content that work really well is education or entertainment type videos. So if it's really technical educational videos, that works really well. People want to learn more about, either your project or learn new things. Or entertainment. Maybe you make memes on Web3. People enjoy it. Maybe you're funny, or you're just entertaining. That I think works really well. So educational content or entertaining content generally works really well. And of course, every once in a way, you can ask for feedback from your audience, right? Like if it's, do you like this type of content? For example, if you're on Instagram, you could post a story saying, hey, I hope you watched the recent reel of mine where I talked about DeFi. Did you understand it? Do you want more of this type of content? And you could have a poll below at the story where people can come in and click whether they like it or they don't like it, or what types of content they want to see more. Even on YouTube, I think there are these community posts that you can do as well, where you can get more feedback from the audience. And as you get more feedback from your audience, you'll start iterating more as well. That's what I've been doing when I started creating content. You can go and see my Instagram. It's extremely bad. I don't even know what I'm saying or how I'm creating content. And as I'm, as people are DMing me or commenting on my posts, I get more feedback from them. Hey, what do you like? What do you not like? And iterate from there. Just like building any other product, right? If you're a product builder. So once you create that content, once you jot down ideas, create specific content, you need to distribute that content. So where does your audience primarily live? Are they on Twitter? Are they on Instagram, TikTok? I think we already spoke about this in the very beginning. But depending on where your audience is, you can do distribution there. But if you want to grow faster, what I've seen work really well for people, especially these days, is paid ads. So if you're doing Facebook or Instagram, especially, like, you could do paid advertising using Facebook Business Manager. If you're on YouTube, I saw some videos on, and it doesn't have to be direct, right? It doesn't have to be like, oh, hey, follow me or follow my company. Could be just that you're promoting your brand, or like some educational content and ad on YouTube, and people could click that. Could be Google AdWords if you're using that. TikTok also has its own ad platform, Reddit as well, Twitter as well. So if you're looking to grow fast, then you could use the paid ads option as well. Until now, is this too much? Is this fast, slow? What do you all think so far? Okay so far?
Yeah,
Any
this is
questions?
great. It's great.
Okay, perfect. So I'll move on then to the next one. So Web 2 versus Web 3, how I think you all know this already, is that Web 2 was the read and write sort of platform, and Web 3 is where you read, write, and own system. So in Web 3, ideally, you will be owning your data and identity. So that's where content creation is so important, because right now my data is owned by Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, and it's on their servers. In Web 3, my data and identity would be decentralized. No one person will be owning it. And that gives you a huge power as a content creator. One example is, let's say I go and log in on one decentralized social media app. I think you had DSO at some point, right? So I'm sure he would have spoken more about decentralized social media apps. So let's say I log into a decentralized version of Facebook, and I know I put in all my images, I put in all my data, all my information, videos, posts, everything. And a new decentralized social media platform comes along, and I want to move all my data to the new social media platform, then it would be very easy. Maybe just a click of a button, right? Because all of your data is not stored by one company, it's decentralized. So it should be as easy as ideally clicking a button where all of your data just moves to a new social media platform. And this is so useful for content creators and users, right? Because you don't have to fill in all your information and go through adding your friends and all that all the time. You don't have to do any of that. Everything is automatically transferred to the new decentralized social media app. Let's say you're a content creator, then it's still even more useful for you. Let's say a new platform comes along. Imagine all of your followers automatically go to the new platform. Of course, there'll have to be, some data privacy, and I mean there's debate there. But imagine if everyone is okay with it and all of your data just transfers along. Should be super quick and easy. That's what we're working towards. I don't think we're there yet, but I do know decentralized social media platforms are a thing, and I'm sure we're moving towards that, in that direction. So that's why Web3 is super important when it comes to content creation. But we'll talk more about that here as well. So how does Web3 enable content creators? I'm sure you've heard of the idea of super fans, right? Or 1,000 super fans or 100 super fans, as they say right now in Web3. Um, these super fans can support your content in multiple ways. For example, they can be the first to purchase your social tokens. If you're trying to build the community together, they can be, early adopters and purchasers of your NFTs. They could be cheerleaders and ambassadors for your community, so that you could promote and encourage others to join. Basically, I'm trying to say that it's more important to have people, a closed community, at least of 100 or 1,000 people, who are willing to, uh, who you really build trust with. It's a community who are your super fans, who are really interested in your content and who really trust you. So I think that's very important, more than 1,000 people who don't know anything about you, or who are just following your content every now and then. So that's very important. They can also, purchase your exclusive content once you create that. We'll talk about this in a second. So for example, social tokens. And by the way, this goes for independent content creators and companies as well, as I've been saying all this while. Um, what are social tokens? So right now, do you know what social tokens are, by the way, or should I give an explanation right now? Um, do we know what social tokens? Yeah. For example, FWB and all that. Yeah. So if you're a content creator, for example, me, I could create a token on the blockchain. For example, my token can be named just like Bitcoin is BTC. Mine could be named ABI or ABHI. So that could be my social token. It could be, let's say, on the Ethereum blockchain. And people could come and buy my tokens. They could convert their ETH into ABHI, and they could use my tokens for transactions. So those are what social tokens are. Tokens which I have created for myself, which exist on the blockchain. But why are social tokens important? Let's look at that. In successful token models, community members can buy tokens, but they can also earn them in several ways. So for example, let's say you're doing a random giveaway. You want to give away a laptop, or let's say you're giving away, let's say someone needs to do a task for you, or you're launching a new product, and you want people to share this product to other users. So if people share a certain product that you release on their Twitter or Instagram, they get a certain part of your social tokens, which they can then use to transact, or convert to ETH, or whatever they want to do with social tokens. So it's a way of rewarding your community with more, and it's a way of also building loyalty as well. For it's a currency for your community, as I mentioned. So what could it be used for? It could be used for rewarding. It could be used for payment of services, or content created for the community. Or what you could do is, in the beginning, once you're launching your tokens, you could airdrop it to all your members. And depending on who is more engaged with you, you could give them more tokens, so that if someone is watching all your videos, let's say, and if someone is commenting on all your videos and giving you really important feedback, and participating and being engaged in your community, then you could airdrop them more tokens. And people who are only viewing your content, they could get less tokens. So you could manage it that way as well. And let's say you have bonus promotions, right? On some specific day, if you're launching let's say you've already launched your tokens, and you want to give away more tokens on specific days, you could have bonuses where you get the tokens for less, or you could have certain promotions or bonuses around tokens on each specific week, or on Diwali or something like that. So social tokens are basically a currency that you use for within your own community. It builds loyalty and trust within your audience, and I think it's a great way to engage your community. And it exists on the blockchain, which is better. So that's about social tokens. Another way Web3 can help is NFTs. The good thing about NFTs is that you own your content. So let's say your NFT is attached to a video, you basically own that video, and you could sell that video to one of your audience members. Or I think that these days there are like social media platforms or companies which are doing this, where celebrities basically make a video for you and sell it to you, but there's an in-between company that's taking a percentage of that charge. So instead of that, you could create a video own it on an NFT and sell it directly to your audience. And that person, once you sell that NFT, that person then owns that video, then owns that content. And you get to control what kind of content you create, because it's an NFT that you are creating. But more than that, the best part, and by far the best part about NFTs right now for content creators, is royalties. So let's say you sell an NFT to 100 members of your or to your audience, and for $100 each. Now these NFTs, you can program royalties into each of these NFTs. Let's say you get 10% of each sale that happens, either buy or sell. You can sell them on secondary platforms on OpenSea, or whichever other NFT marketplace that you want to use. Once these NFTs are sold in secondary platforms, then you get 10% of each of those sales as well. Whenever anyone sells each of your NFT, you get a percentage royalty of that sale. So let's say you're an artist and you release a music video, then each time someone buys that NFT and sells it to someone else, then you get part of that revenue, which is extremely, extremely helpful and important, especially these days. Or you're a company, maybe, you want a small community, 1,000 people who you're releasing a certain product to, or you're releasing an NFT to, a close community of members or beta testers, or whichever way you want to look at it. Each time a person sells those NFTs, the company then gets royalties from each of those sales as well. So it's not just for independent creators, it's also for companies as well. Companies, I think, have a huge potential in creating NFTs and making use of them. I think we're yet to explore all of the use cases for this. Another thing which I think is happening these days is also renting your NFT. So let's say I'm a company and I am giving away 1 year membership as an NFT. So I give away, and someone else buys this NFT, a 1 year membership of the company. And let's say they are moving abroad, or they're going away somewhere, or they have a health issue or something else that's stopping them from using that membership for 1 month. Then what they could do is rent out that NFT for a little less, so that anyone else who wants to use that membership can use that, and rent out that NFT for a month or 2 months instead of buying the entire thing for 1 year. So renting your NFTs is also a huge thing, which in companies can use. Um, so that's the main thing about NFTs, is that I think we're still in the early stages. We're definitely starting to see more and more companies coming into the NFT space, creators as well. But a lot of the use cases, I think we're still yet to see as creators. Um, so yeah, that was it. I know there are a lot of things happening in Web3 which I've completely missed out, like DAOs. You could be an independent content creator and create a DAO. And let's say you have a community, then each of your profits come to your community instead of going to just you. So all of the members of the DAO get profits instead of you just getting the profit. So it could be a shared community and shared profits. Sorry, go ahead. That was it from me. Feel free to ask any questions that you have.
No, thank you. Thanks, Abhishek. We have a couple of questions from Soumyajit. So he was asking, did you learn performance marketing, and how did you learn that?
Yeah, I learned it on my own. And there are a lot of courses online which you can take. YouTube is, I think, the best place to do it. I learned Facebook ads on my own. Yeah, it's pretty. Once you get used to it, you should get hang of it. Yeah, online.
So
Yeah, I learned.
one
Yeah.
another question is interesting. So something like a social token, which is created in a particular community, something like an FWB, right? Vis-a-vis a social token which is created from particular creator side, like for example, you and I create a social token. So what is hypothetically some of the fundamental differences? I think if I understand correct, there is also it has to be associated with the accrued value of that particular token, right? As a community, I presume the token values way higher because there are multiple folks who are believing in the vision of that particular community rather than an independent creator. So this is a very interesting question. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Sorry, the question I didn't get. I understand your concept, but the question exactly
So
is.
the question is, so what is the kind of fundamental difference between a social token like FWB, Friends with Benefits, and a token which is created by one particular creator, something like Abhi, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on your specific use cases and what you want your tokens to be used for. Um, I think in case of FWB, I haven't looked into it in a while, but I think they have like certain specific use cases where people can buy certain packages or something like that. Or people get together and have, I think there are parties that are hosted, if I'm not right. So it depends on what your specific use case is for your own community. So you could have giveaways, and people could buy those tokens with your people could essentially buy things from you using those specific tokens. And of course, as you said, value of each token is dependent on your community, just like money itself. I think fundamentally, if you look at money, its value is what we give it, right? Value of gold is what we give it. It's not like, if let's say tomorrow gold is invaluable to everyone, it goes to zero. Then so similarly, for any social token, depending on how valuable people think it is, that's how valuable my token also becomes. And I think it's basic supply demand, where if more people are interested in your community and more people believe in you and trust you, then your social token is much more valuable. So social tokens are very specific to each community. Depends on what exactly you want to be doing using those social tokens.
Absolutely. I like that analogy there actually. So guys, we have like few more minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask Abhishek a question. If not, put it in the chat. Cool. I have like multiple questions, Abhishek. So
Yeah.
so this is, first of all, this is super great. You covered a gamut of stuff around content creation and all. One aspect is I think the consistency in the content creation as well, right? Say a content creator might be, or especially in the Web3 world, might be super active for about a month's time, and then say if they are going kind of AWOL for about even for a week or 10 days, it goes behind people's mind, right? In terms of like, hey, I don't see this person active anymore. And also, my question is like, how important is consistency and how can we maintain it? Because um, there might be a couple of multiple stuff that might come and shape up, right? So how do you deal with that situation, and how do you ensure the consistency is maintained? And how important is that is also a question, depending on the algorithms, etc.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question actually. Consistency is key. It's extremely important, especially if you're starting out, I think. Not just for your audience sake, but also for the algorithm, but most importantly for your audience. For example, I started creating content on Instagram because I've been posting reels almost every single day, and sometimes I've missed. Sorry if you're one of my audience members. But I think consistency is key, and the algorithm rewards you if you're posting every single day on Instagram reels, especially if you're doing or YouTube shorts. Um, I think it's extremely important. There's no specific number whether you choose to do two pieces of content every day, one every day, or one every 2 days. It's up to you. But I think the key there is to maintain consistency. And from your audience side, if let's say someone is expecting a video to be posted every single day, and you post consistently for 1 month continuously, and the content is great and everything is amazing, but you stop posting for the next 10 days, then some of your audience members, maybe not all, but some of your audience members are either going to get bored, or they're going to think, maybe this person is not who I'm supposed to follow, or the audience is not as engaged as they used to be, or they might forget about you. Who knows? And the algorithm is also not going to reward you for posting consistently. What is the aim of social media, right? The aim is for social media, for content creators to be posting more consistently. They want to reach a bigger audience, and they want people to be entertained. So if the algorithm has to be rewarding for you, then you have to keep posting content so that it's not negative impression on your audience as well. So I think it's extremely key factor, and it's very important. So there's no specific schedule, as I said, but once you stick to a schedule, I think it's very important to maintain that schedule.
Yeah, totally agree. So again, one more question. So what are some of the best resources for a creator that help you actually kickstart? I don't know, like, I think, what are the resources that you used initially, to create content?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I was just looking at YouTube videos. I think YouTube was a great resource for me for doing almost everything. I would say pretty much everything in my life. um, I think I was just looking at how do you create videos. I would just use my phone, ask my brother or someone to record me, and then start talking in front of the camera. And initially it would come out well. Slowly I started improving. But I think in terms of specific resources that you're asking, I don't think you need in the beginning, especially a fancy camera or like some video editing software or anything. Just take out your phone, start posting content, or start writing. In the beginning, everyone, when they start off, they're not amazing. Like, everyone starts from zero. So it's very important to get started and maintain that consistency. But YouTube is a fantastic resource. You could just say, how do you create a video, or what's the best way to what's the best hook these days, or so I think YouTube is a fantastic resource for that.
Sure, I think I would totally agree, and I think I was reading somewhere, from one of the successful content creator of late, that he mentioned that don't even worry about the quality of the videos at the start, right? Just keep creating stuff, because according to him, the first 40 or 50 videos are are not going to be of high quality, but when you keep creating content, it keeps increasing and the quality automatically improves, by taking the feedback from the users, etc. Okay, so one more question,
Exactly. Yeah, and I would also, sorry, so I would add to that is I think
sure.
the one of the biggest important things that I see content creators do is they're trying to aim for perfection. Adding on to your point is that they're all like, oh, maybe this camera is not too good, or maybe my editing style is not that good, or maybe this is not that good. But you wouldn't know until you post, right? And taking that first step is extremely important. Until you take that first step, you're never going to know if it's good or not good. And of course, consistency. Sorry, that's all I had to say for that. Go ahead. Yeah.
100% agree. So we'll take this as the last question and we'll do some final closing remarks. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced as a creator while starting out? In terms of reach or monetization. I think even we have a question at Web3 Learn, right? So even though we are creating a lot of content out there, sometimes we feel taken back. Okay, hey, why are we not reaching out to a larger section of audience, right? What is it that we are doing wrong? I would obviously, I think this is sort of a personal question even for us from at Web3 Learn. Yeah, love to hear your thoughts and how to even start looking into the reach part, right? How consistency is one part, but like how long does it take, and what do we need to do apart from creating content, to reach out to the wider audience in terms of other any tips, suggestions? Should we post on any different platforms? Should we repurpose the content? Any tips that you would like to provide?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in the beginning, especially, it's really hard posting and seeing that, it's not reaching a wider audience. It could be a variety of different factors. It could be the algorithm, which is like still getting used to it. I know my first 2, 3 videos when I was starting to post, I would just get a couple of views, and because the algorithm has to pick it up. So it could be the algorithm. It could be that your content is not good. It could be that maybe someone is creating content that is not so useful or so entertaining or educational for the user. It could be a variety of factors, but I think it's important for the first few pieces of content that you created, whatever types of content, is that you don't look at metrics initially, is that you just keep putting out content and then see the result. Let's say you put out 40 or 50 different kinds of videos, and then you see, okay, I've put out 40 or 50 different kinds of content, and still they're not reaching a wider audience, still they're not doing well. Then you can start to think about, okay, what exactly is going wrong in my content creation, and think about how to improve that. But in terms of expanding, you could do, if you're resourceful, as I said, you could do paid ads, um, and slowly you could also do collabs, which I'm exploring as well, especially on Instagram and Twitter and all of these places. You could collaborate with another company or another creator who has a similar audience size to you, and maybe you can, some people from your community would jump onto them, and some people from their community jumps onto your community, would start following you. So collabs work really well. Sometimes giveaways also work really well. So let's say person who, or the first 5 people or 5 random people who share this tweet will get this t-shirt or something like that. So those are things that work really well: collabs, paid ads, and giveaways. What else? Yeah, these are 3 main ways. But most important thing, I think, is in the beginning is that you are just creating, posting consistently, and then measuring growth after that. But I know it can be hard, especially in the beginning.
And how about monetization?
Monetization, I haven't started monetizing, but I know YouTube has its own creator community platform. I don't know what they call it. I think partner program. So they give you half of the ads that they run on you. So it depends on the platform. And you could have, like, if the company itself or the community itself, I mean the platform itself isn't paying you, then you could have, like, you could do merch depending on your audience. Like, if you're doing vlogs, especially, like, a lot of content creators do merch. Or you could have an online course. A lot of people, I'm sure you've seen ads of people selling different kinds of courses. You could do online courses. You could do physical products, right? Let's say you're making videos and you have even 1,000 or 10,000 subscribers, and all your content is just about coffee. you could come up with, you could private label your own company, create your own coffee brand and sell coffee, which is much cheaper and better in your idea. So anything that adds value to your audience, that you because you especially already have an audience, right? Like especially if you have an audience, then your audience trusts you and they would want to buy more from you, especially if you're adding value to that product. So physical products, digital products, or the social media, I mean, the platform itself will get an ad revenue. And you could, of course, do brand deals, which are pretty common these days. You could promote other brands would reach out to you. But I think the important thing there is to not compromise your integrity. In that, I see some creators like, make sure you look into what kind of content you're promoting and monetizing. Make sure that you're, especially you yourself, are using it, and make sure you trust that before you promote anything, I would say.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much, Abhishek. This is actually super great. Lot of interesting insights there. So, in any closing remarks, and then I think we can close the session. Any
Yeah, I mean,
final thoughts, final tips for the creators? And
I would say get started now. I think this is extremely important. Not many people are, I mean, there are content creators, but especially in India, what I see is a lot of people are afraid to be on camera. If you're afraid to be, if you're not good on camera, it's fine. You can create written content. I would say the most important thing is to get started. No matter who you are, whether you're an employee, no matter who you are, start creating content and start attracting audience so that you can get to the place where you want to go. So start right now. And if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. Just DM me on Instagram and I'll respond there.
awesome. Yeah, might be whoever are attending the session, and we, as I said, we'll share the recording as well. If you haven't started, creating content, might be make that as the number one priority for the weekend. Just put something out there, and then see how it goes. Cool. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for your time. As I said, super great insights, and I think there was like a lot of conversation, interesting questions that came through as well. And yeah, thanks a lot for your time. I highly appreciate
Thank you
that.
so much. Thank you so much, Kiran, for having me. Thank you, everyone, for being here and listening to me. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Take care, guys. Have a great day. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.